What's up guys, Kenny G here. Today we're going to show you how to sharpen a saw. First thing you got to do is these chains, they're a lot like vaginas. The tighter the better. These lug nuts, guys, there's two of them. They don't have to be super tight. Just snug them up. There's two. A lot of guys, they crank those things up so tight. With Husqvarnas, the lug nuts are pressed in from inside the crankcase so they can't come out. But the steel saws, the studs, they're threaded on both sides. And they actually screw into the crankcase, and I've seen guys tighten these so much that it rips them right out. And then once that happens, the whole saw is pretty much junk. I like to use a vise when I can, especially down here, and this is my basement. I have this one built to a specific height where I like it, so this is sitting at a comfortable height. A lot of people, they'll put it on their normal workbench and it's like way up here and it's awkward. I set it up to a height that's comfortable for me. Also, I kind of angle the saw down a bit. It just helps me get like this will kind of go between my legs and I'll be able to lean over it. Plus, I think it's easier. You're like pulling, when you're pulling back, you're actually kind of pushing down into the gullet at the same time. Now I'm going to find the master link, which is on a steel chain, is yellow or green. So I have a starting point. Yeah, my basement's a mess, guys. I know. I got all my old tree stuff that I don't freaking use here. Got the toolboxes and the shelves. And yeah, it's my little man cave. Enough rambling, back to the sharpening. I like a 25-degree angle. Well, in between 25 and 30. It doesn't have to be perfect. These handles here, these yellow, or I mean these orange steel ones, these wings are actually the degrees. Like, you probably can't see on the camera. It says 30 degrees there and 25 on this side. So that's a reference. If you set this against the chain like that, that's 25 degrees. If I spin it and put it here, now that's 30 degrees. You should have the file flat this way, like you don't want a downward or an upward angle, although it really, this stuff doesn't have to be perfect. I've seen guys go on a downward angle and I've seen them go on an upward angle and still get it sharp. But the best is to be straight. Real quick before I start filing, I just want to explain the way these teeth cut. People think that hook's digging in and like ripping a chunk out. That's not actually the case. What it does is it cuts like a guillotine. If you think about a guillotine is on an angle, so as it comes down, it makes a slicing motion. If it was just straight across like this and you went down, it would just chop into like whatever it was cutting, a person's head. It would just go in a couple inches and stop, but because it's on this angle as it comes down, it makes a slicing motion. And this chain is the exact same way. As this tooth goes into the wood, the point pierces the wood, and then this top plate creates a slicing motion as it goes through, and the hook grabs the piece like this, slices, and then the hook grabs and peels it out. So they all work together. You know what I mean? So it's important that that top plate is sharp. And the reason you want to get that gullet out, though, that lower material, is because as it slices through, the more space there is in there, like when you get that gullet out, the bigger of a chunk it can pull out. Like, that's room for the material to go. Like, as it slices through, it pulls that wood down into there and gives it a place to go. Like, as it cuts through, it hooks it and it slices and peels it down in. So the rakers here are what controls how much of this tooth is cutting. And if these rakers are uneven, your saw will cut crooked. Okay, let me explain this real quick. So, although the rakers do control whether it cuts straight, like how much it takes out, if each tooth is exactly the same size, then the rakers wouldn't matter, because the rakers would be the same in relation to each tooth. It's when each tooth is different sizes, then the rakers have to be different sizes. But if each tooth is the exact same size, then the rakers are the same height in relation to each tooth. Make sense? Okay, to the filing. So I like to do this in two parts. I'll push down this way, like towards the floor, a few times to get the gullet. So see, right there, I just took all this gullet out, down in there. I have the saw going through the tripod. Which tooth did I do? This one. Okay, so you can see I took all that gullet material out on the bottom. Let me get a pointer. Right here. Now there's a big hook there, and this is real pointy and feels sharp. And like this, like people think if it feels sharp, it's like a cat's claw where it cuts, and that's not true at all, because like I said, it slices like a guillotine. So that top plate is dull right now. Although there's a point there, it's not gonna cut. So now that I got the gullet out, what I'll do, now I'll get the top plate and I'll file and I'll pull back towards the power head. This file is a little bad. I'm gonna have to get a new one. So I don't know if you can tell, but I actually got a burr here on the top, because just like sharpening a knife, you get a burr on the edge. So a lot of times if you see me do this after I file a tooth, I'm just knocking that burr off. It's just like a habit, like an OCD thing that I have. Now let's take a look at this tooth. So as you can see, the gullet's out. That's wicked. Guys, that's wicked sharp right there. A few strokes again, I'm gonna be pushing straight down towards the floor. And now I'll be pulling back towards the power head. A common mistake I see people make is when they're pulling, they're not pulling evenly with both hands. They're pulling harder with one hand or the other, and it causes this wavy motion as they file. You can actually see the file do this, that little wavy motion. So just try to be consistent. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put my finger on the file here, and then I'll grab this one with my thumb, and I'll do this, especially with the smaller files. With this handle, it actually has a little divoted spot right there for your finger, so I like to use it like this. But then you're not using these gauges. So, but after you file so many times, you really don't need this. That gullet's out. Now I'm going to pull straight back towards the power head just to get this top plate. Oh guys, this is wicked. This is right here, guys. This is wicked sharp. I'm telling you, this thing will outcut any stock chain. I mean, look at that, guys. It's wicked sharp. That will rip. Another reason I like the 25-degree angle is it stays sharper longer. The more the angle you have, the more it's filed to a fine point, and the faster it will get dull. This tooth here was really bad. So if you look at all the other teeth I've done, look, they're like all identical in size. Like I've done a pretty decent job at keeping them the same size. So right here, this is where you would need a raker gauge once you file these rakers. Or what I'll do when I file these, I'll hit these rakers probably like 2 swipes after this. And then this tooth here, because it's a little smaller, I'll give it an extra swipe. And that'll even it out. And I've never had a problem with that. Like my saws usually cut straight. I mean, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I mess up, but 99.8% of the time they cut straight without a raker gauge. If you like the raker gauges, you can use it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's harder for me, like, to put it on there, and it takes longer, and I don't like carrying one around. And even with this raker gauge here, you can mess up, because see, right now, if I go across here, it's fine, but watch when I push pressure on this, look how it goes down. And that's what a lot of times happens. It's like, I'll get in a hurry or whatever, and I'll start pushing on this, and then this ain't flat on there. I feel like I don't have it on there right. And then it's like, I feel like this ain't even straight, because watch what happens when I push back here. It pops up on the front now. So it's like too far up, you're pushing down where you're taking the raker too low. Too far back, it comes up where you're not getting the raker. So it's like, you have to really have this on there perfectly flat. And then even now, like, I'm pushing a lot of pressure with this hand, and when I hit this, you can see it like twisting around and moving. It's just not for me, guys. Alright guys, so now I'm just gonna do this whole right side real quick, and then I'll switch sides and show you how we do the left side. What we do is we switch to our left hand, and again, what we're going to do is push straight down towards the floor for the first couple. And that's just getting the gullet. Like, I did not hit this top plate or side plate at all. So now, I'll pull straight back towards me. And you can, if it's difficult for you to follow with your left hand, you can slow down a bit. Like, watch how I slow down. Just like that. So you're really taking your time, making sure you get it right. Short strokes like that. That helps freaking fly in here. That helps you stay consistent and get a good tooth. Yeah, that one's pretty good. So after practice though, guys, you'll be flying right through it. Like, there's the gullet. That's the top plate. That's good. Each tooth don't have to be the same size. I like to try to keep them the same size. That doesn't mean, I just want to clarify, that doesn't mean that if this one ends up smaller than all the others that you need to file the other ones to match it. All it means is if you can, keep them the same size, keep them the same size. But if one's really bad and you have to file it more, don't file the other ones to match it. You'll take the raker down a little extra to compensate for that. Because what controls this cut is the rakers, not the tooth. It'll cut straight whether this tooth is an inch or a quarter inch, and the rest of them are different. It doesn't matter if they're different sizes. It only matters that your rakers are the same in relation to each tooth. Now, we'll hit the rakers. Like I said, if you want to use a gauge, you can use a gauge. I don't use one. So if you look here, I've filed this in a way where each tooth, they're all pretty much the same size. There might be a couple here and there, like they're a little smaller, but for the most part, they're the same size. So what I'll do now is I'll take even amount off the raker. Like I'll do two swipes, just like that. Same amount of pressure on each one, and I know they're the same. And you can actually use the file as a guide if you want. Like I can see where the tooth is hitting on the file, and yeah, they're both like the same height. So I'll just do that and try to keep them even. Here we have a tooth that is this one is a little bit shorter than all the others. So what I'll do is I'll do like 2.5 swipes, like that. Here's another one that's a little shorter, and like you can see right now when I put the file and I slide it back, it's the raker sticking up higher than the tooth. So watch. So now it's starting to hit the tooth a little. There's our third swipe. And now I can see where the tooth is hitting on the edge of this file. And if I come back to my other ones, I can see they're pretty much the same size. And if they're not the same size, they're close enough, it doesn't matter. Okay, that's all of them. So I guarantee you guys, I mean, I'm not perfect. There's a chance that I messed up and this would cut crooked. But I almost guarantee you, 99.8% chance that this will cut perfectly straight, even in a piece of wood that's twice its size. Hope you guys liked that video. I'm new at this. It's a little weird talking to the camera. I feel like I'm repeating myself a bunch and stuff. It's just because I'm not used to talking to the camera yet. But sooner or later I will get used to it, and you guys will start to see like a difference. And anyhow, if you guys like these videos, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit subscribe.